This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rangers Assessment right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McKay. It's a pleasure as always to be your host. I'm delighted to be joined by my special guest. First of all, it's a pleasure to welcome back to the show, Scott McKay.
Hi Scott, how you doing? All right. Thanks for having me on again,
No
mate.
problem. Always a pleasure, mate. Looking forward to this. And it's a pleasure to welcome making our first appearance on the show, Shona McLean.
Hi Scott, obviously nice to see you again. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely looking forward to this. It's been a fascinating week. We can obviously kind of touch on it as a whole, but Scott, it's always good to get a win in the board after what's been quite an up and down week.
Aye, definitely. I think it's been quite a mixed week, innit? I think the manager's trying to stay positive, and essentially says after the Aris game and the Aberdeen game that it was an improvement. On the previous results against Aberdeen and Aris, but I think he's in for a rude awakening if he's going to come away with comments like that. But we needed that win yesterday. Yesterday was quite important. Needed to get our feet back in the ground again, and good seeing Cantwell through the middle.
Jonah, I think yesterday it was so important. Like, we can touch on performance. I don't think first half it was anything to write home about, but there was a lift in second half, and I thought just a win in the board, get a 2-0 win, move on to a big game on Wednesday night, and it kind of just, like, again, what has been a week that has been fairly up and down. It was just a relief, I think, to get the points, and Sima getting on the score sheet. I think it was just a relief.
It certainly was. I think obviously keeping a clean sheet was massive as well, and we know that we're going into a busy December, aren't we? So points on the board, a win is obviously what we wanted, and I thought the first half obviously was a wee bit kind of hit and miss in the first half. I thought a few sloppy passes and people slipping all over the pitch, but I thought in the second half we really gained momentum, and I don't really think that apart from that one shot that Jack Butland saved, St Mirren really didn't have a sniff of the game. So yeah, no, it was a really positive performance overall, and obviously I think we'll go into some of the negative things that I've got to talk about, but I think it's more about how we can turn them into positives.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to kind of read into yesterday. Like, we'll start with the lineup, Scott. Like, there was a lot of change. I don't think it was a bit much of a surprise. No surprise that the two centre halves, Goldson and Balogun, come back in. They seem to be the kind of preferred partnership at the moment for Clermont. Cifuentes, I think, was another one. I don't think he can have any arguments about being dropped. Lawrence played a bit deeper, which I thought I was kind of unsure about at the start, but I thought he did fine. McCausland finally, I think, deserved a start. I think he was fantastic when he came on Thursday night, and again just done himself wonders. Cantwell was obviously the big decision at number 10. Was there going to be a bit of a kind of cloud? I think that would have kind of spoke volumes if Cantwell wasn't in the side, but he gets preferred at number 10. And Dessers for Danilo, there was a lot more change than you thought, but all the changes made sense.
Aye, definitely. Good, as I say, it's good to see Campbell in the 10 position, and I've been crying out for Campbell and Lawrence to be in the starting lineup together, and I think that's the way you need to use them. You need to utilise them. I think against the less tougher opponents in the league, without any disrespect, I think when you're playing the likes of St Mirren and anybody like that at home, you can afford to go with a more attacking minded player in central midfield. Lundstrom had another good game. He tidied up. One sat, one went forward. I thought it gave us a wee bit more creativity. First half, there was signs the play was a wee bit tailored. We were kind of going side to side again. It was kind of taking too many touches in the ball. It wasn't that fast. Just a wee bit laboured until obviously we get going. It was much better second half, Scott.
Jonah, the first half wasn't, like, there wasn't a lot to write home about, but the one thing that kind of jumped out was, like, when the goal went in, and we'll touch on the goal, but if that goal didn't come in, if it hadn't been 0-0 interval, just with the pace of play, just with the kind of real lethargic nature, I think you would have heard boos at half time. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not one for saying like boos are anything good, I'm not, but I don't think that would have helped. I think the goal coming at that time just saved what could have been a bit of a raucous atmosphere at half time that I don't think was deserved.
Yeah, I think that goal was crucial because I think the half team talk from both sides were going to be completely different if you're going in there at 0-0 at half time. I think obviously the St Mirren manager, he would have obviously wanted these players in to obviously attack more. I think when that goal went in just before half time, his team talk at half time completely changed, and obviously then we had to go into the second half and just make sure that we obviously secured those 3 points. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the first half, I felt as if with the first half, a lot of the time was wasted because of St Mirren trying to waste time, either with throw-ins or with goal kicks, and I think that kind of stopped our momentum in the game. I think we were never really able to get any sort of rhythm in the game, and I didn't think that helped Cantwell or Lawrence. I think they're the type of guys that like to be on the game when there's a lot of momentum, a lot of pressing, a lot of possession. I felt as if in the first half the two of them were not quite at it. I think I agree with Scott. I think some of the passes were going astray. But once we got, I don't know if that was maybe just down to the new formation as well. I think obviously having Lundstrom and Lawrence in midfield is we're not used to that. So yeah, I think I agree with Scott. I think it was very attacking. I think it was really good to see that at home. The biggest debate for me is, does this work away at Hearts midweek? That's the only thing. Does Lawrence work in that midfield away? I think we have to go with them because we don't really have anybody else. I think we all know what happened with the Raskin news as well that over the last couple of days. So yeah, I think we're going to have to go with that midweek, but I think we just need to be a bit more cautious. I think when it comes to away games, playing those two in midfield.
Scott, the goal, I think the first goal before half time I thought was crucial, but what excited me about it is that all four of the front four as such were all involved and they all played key parts. I think we can underestimate Dessers in the goal. I thought his ability just to kind of create the space I thought was really good. Cantwell, does Sima get ahead of him and finish it? Is Cantwell going to run it out? We don't know, but I think Cantwell, just the drive he had and Sima's finish, and I think it's a big goal for Sima as well because he has been someone who's been putting a load of effort in recent weeks and he's not been getting the results from the kind of numbers point of view, but you can tell still the ethic's there. And I just think it was a big goal just for the overall mood of the ground, but also the players in particular. I thought Dessers got a lot from it, and again, Cantwell be big for him, but Sima in particular, I thought that just, you could see a wee lift for him just once he scored.
Aye, definitely. Sima came back to the forefront yesterday. I wouldn't mind seeing Sima getting a run through the middle. I think the boys due a rest though. He's been ever present probably since come in. Matondo's getting his minutes back now. I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but I think see when we're pressing, the only one you see pressing is a striker. I noticed it Thursday night, I noticed it yesterday. Press seems to be a wee bit disjointed. Always seems to be a striker that's chasing doing anything. In terms of Dessers yesterday, he was still offside twice. He still took some bad touches, complained about nothing. Made space well enough for a goal. It was an improved performance, but I still don't think it's good enough, to be honest with you, Scott. I think in January, we need to go out and sign another striker to replace him, and I think we need to look at moving Dessers on if possible.
So my thing with Dessers, and I've been vocal about this for a while, I still think there's something in there. Lammers, I think, is gone. I don't think you're getting Lammers back because there's still to this. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he's bringing to that side. But with Dessers, I've been of the opinion for a while, if there's somebody there who can kind of do, as you say, kind of make the runs, give him a bit more of an ability to, I think Dessers, he's coming out too much, as Scott says, he's offside way too often. But he's always played as a two. He's played as a two his whole career. So to then have him as a one, where I don't think he's got the sharpness for it. I really don't. I still think there's enough there for a two, and I don't think it would harm Danilo either. It's still something I want to see trying. Whether it works, I don't know, but I still think it could be something to try.
Well, to be honest, I haven't really seen an outstanding performance from Danilo or Dessers, do you know what I mean, so far. But I thought Dessers was a slight improvement on yesterday. And I did notice, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I think Sima was playing slightly closer to him as well. I think that did help him throughout the game. I'm a massive Sima fanboy. I honestly am. I think this boy, we should try and at least sign him. I think when I looked at his stats the other day, I think that's him now scored 11 goals this season. He's probably our most prolific attacker. I think Danilo and Dessers are on about 6 or 7 goals. That's just not good enough for a striker, whether it's one or the other. I don't think Dessers, I'm a wee bit with Scott where if we can try and move him on, I don't think we will. And the problem with that is that I feel as if we have to play them. If you want to move guys on, you have to play them. They can't be sitting on the bench on big wages, because no club's ever going to come in for them. But what I did notice, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the new director of football, or the director of whatever it is that's coming in, recruitment, he's actually worked with Dessers before at PSV.
Right.
So whether that might have an impact, I know obviously when he was at PSV he was the scout there. So look, whether that'll have an impact on Dessers, I'm not sure, and obviously with the new manager. But I do feel as if in the last, maybe I would say, 1 or 2 games, I think Dessers has shown a slight improvement. It's probably not quite at it yet. But yeah, look, I think for me, Sima has to be signed. This guy can play in the left wing, play on the right wing, he can play up front. He can play as a wing back, and I do believe that if we were in dire straits, I know obviously Scott's saying there that we need to go out and buy a striker. I think Sima could possibly play as a striker. So look, you're probably talking between £7 or £8 million for him, but look, I think he's more our most versatile winger that we've got, and we've been crying out for one of these guys. So I would do the utmost to try and sign him in January.
I want to touch on Todd Cantwell because I think obviously he's been the topic of conversation for the past few days. My thing with him is yesterday, and somebody made the point, Cantwell was getting a lot of passes towards his right-hand side that were very... I think the Cantwell to the right didn't work for the simple reason that Cantwell's wanting to use his right foot to cut in. He can't do that on the right-hand side. There's no enough space to do that. On the left, it might work. I don't know. If you want to play him inside left, there's maybe a potential for that. I would say if you were going to try it, I would have put him in left instead of right. But I think Clement always had the opinion with him that he is that type of player where he can be a bit more flexible with it, similar to what he's done with Lawrence in the 8 on Sunday. But I think yesterday's a perfect example to show that he's Rangers' best number 10, and when he's playing like that, he's the only player in that side, apart from Lawrence, capable of putting a pass together. Like, do you know what I mean? Capable of making something happen, because that is, again, Lammers is not that player. He's not done anything for me to say that. Cantwell yesterday, there's just a lot more going into the middle of the park. I just think there's a bit more fluidity with Cantwell at the number 10 role, and I thought yesterday was a big performance from him.
Yeah, definitely. I think that performance for Cantwell yesterday was needed for his confidence, get a bit of trust off the manager, improving that relationship a wee bit, because I think no matter how Clement tries to dress it up in his press conferences, I think it is a wee bit strained. So I think that performance of the Cantwell world a good yesterday. Has he nailed the position down himself? I don't think so. I don't think that Clement's going to keep playing him there every week. I don't think he's starting number 10. I think it should be. I don't think that's the way Clement sees it. I think Clement will be playing him on the right-hand side again. He needed it yesterday. I think his first assist, if you want to call it an assist, we gave him a wee bit of confidence. And then the second half, when St Mirren were playing that high line for the second goal, he just played a top quality pass and behind our defenders. It was absolutely outstanding. And that's what I was saying about maybe the potential of Sima through the middle, because we've seen he can finish. He's got the pace to get in behind. The only trouble is getting the opposition high enough up the park to play that type of football. Sort of drawing them out would be my concern. But Campbell had a solid enough game yesterday. What I like about him is he doesn't stay in the number 10 role. It's almost as if he plays it like a free role. He does about, he gets in, he gets involved in the midfield battles. He's got a bit of build-up playing the right, bit of build-up playing the left. He seems to be everywhere. He's got a lot of mobility. He's got an eye for a pass. He's got an eye for a goal. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy when it comes to having Todd Cantwell on your team. That just comes with the player. If you take that away, you've not got half the boy's ability. So it was a good performance yesterday, and it'll be interesting to see how Clement wants to go, where Clement wants to play him against Hearts. He might not even start. You can't predict a lineup with this manager.
Shona, I think with Campbell is that I think Scott's right that it might not be a surprise to see him on the right occasionally, but you saw yesterday for the second goal. I mean, it's a pass I haven't seen at Ibrox and Scott Allen. Like, to be honest.
Yeah, well, was that wee Cruyff turn in the middle of the park? Wasn't one slick pass right through? It was absolutely sublime, the pass. I think that wee Cruyff turn in the middle of the park. But I kind of want to disagree with you guys. I really don't think I want to see Cantwell doing all that work all over the pitch. I just want to see him sitting in that centre bit of the park. He can do the work from the left and the right when he's in the centre, in the middle of the park, but I don't want to see him tracking back, helping out the left back or the right back. Yeah, fair enough, that's great. But then you lose that, like there was one point I think he did track back and Lundstrom got the ball and he was obviously looking for a pass. And the problem was Campbell was actually behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm saying. So I think when you're wanting that formation to work and you really want to hit people on the counter attack, I think you really need to have Campbell sitting in the middle of the centre spot. I think you really need to have him there, and that's when he can obviously be at his best. He can drive forward. He's then got the full pitch in front of him, whether he wants to go left or right. But I looked at obviously yesterday, and he's got 2 assists. He had 88% passing accuracy. He created 4 chances. His dribble success was 100%. He won 67% of his tackles, 67% of ground duels won, and 4 recoveries. So I think he's actually proved a point to the manager. I think that's one thing. So even though maybe the relationship from Thursday night was maybe on the wee bit on the rocks, I think Clement is obviously giving him a wee bit of a boot up the arse, and I think that's what Cantwell needed, because I think he has been pretty poor this season overall. I think what you need from Cantwell is that you can put in performances like that, what we saw the other day, and we all loved that, but we need to see it consistently now. So I do think he will play in that number 10 role. I think midweek, I think he showed the manager, do you know what I mean, what he's capable of. But I just think, like I said, I really do think he just needs to stick to that centre of the park, because when we do want to break, we really need to have him in there.
And obviously, bringing Campbell into the middle of the park meant there was a space in right wing. It was taken by Ross McCausland, who, again, Scott, I thought was just... The thing with McCausland is, for me, he's obviously got the ability to take a player on. He's got the ability to make chances, but when there's times where it's not going to come off and he's going to lose the ball, but he's straight back trying to win it back, and that is not something that Rangers wingers do very often. We don't see that a lot. We don't see it especially in a team where a lot of players seem to just have the habit of slowing things down, and that to me is a real eye opener. Just in like this young boy's coming in, and he's always interested in is just trying to drive us forward. And I think that's such a massive, massive positive for the boy. And he's not going to come in and play. I think Clement is sensible what he said about he's going to manage his minutes. And I think that's fair, because he's a young boy. How many young boys have constantly in good form? It doesn't happen very often. But it's sensible. It's sensible having him. I think he has to start on Wednesday. And I thought he was a man of the match on Sunday.
Oh, he was outstanding Sunday. I seen different highlights of him dribbling past sort of 4, 5 some players, opening up some space. I think there was a passage of play where he feeds the ball in. It must have been Danilo was on. It was towards the end of the match, and Danilo passed it to Campbell and can't get the ball stuck. Campbell get the ball stuck under his feet. I mean, it's funny. I mean, you were talking about where the next big sort of sale for the player trading models coming in. I'm going to bring in a bit of controversy here. I think it's going to be a youth player. I think it's going to be Ross McCausland. I think it's going to be Bailey Rice. Because I can't really see it coming from anywhere else. Let's be brutally honest about it. I mean, nobody's really producing the goods to a level that's going to get is a big fee. Whereas if we've got a young boy coming in with a bit of potential, I think we need something like that to kickstart something. In we all know it's been well publicised with the accounts and stuff. We need to sell before we buy in January. Yeah. That's not going to be McCausland. I'm not saying it's going to be that soon. I'm saying there's potential there for him to be the next big sale. I'm a big, massive Ross McCausland fan. I think he's brought a balance to the right that's not been there since Daniel Candace. He takes the ball well with his feet. Both took his goal really well last Thursday night. It was a threat yesterday. Anytime he got the ball, driving forward, taking players on, which is, it's again we were talking about in the summer. It's the basics of football. If you beat a man, you create space. If you just skin somebody, it's not rocket science, and that's Ross McCausland's brought all the basics, but he does them really, really well. There's no kind of one standout attribute about the boy. It just seems to be he's got everything. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really happy that he's getting a chance under Clement, and I just hope that the manager can see another few that are ready to kind of come in and make a similar impact.
And Shona, it's about, like, as I said, Thursday night he comes in. He's the kind of one that he was warming up after 5 minutes. I think that was already in the manager's mind that he wanted to bring a bit of width in, but he takes that chance on Thursday night and he comes in on Sunday. Big opportunity, coming off the high again, his first goal, and he just looks he just looks like a massive presence. Like I think he could be such a vital part in this upcoming run of games, because the problem I've said for a while is there was absolutely no width in that Rangers side, and he's come in and he's natural in that position, and that's going to be that. Do you know what I mean? That's enough to give him a place, because he's performing well, and he's natural in that position, and he's not slow.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's really, really taken to obviously getting into the first team. I think the last time he was in the first team was the game. It was nearly over 2 years ago against Hearts. Remember when we played quite a lot of the youth players,
That's right.
And he never really got his opportunity since then. So thanks to Stephen Davis for obviously putting him in there. And I think obviously he's just taking his opportunity. And like you said, I think the pass that he made for Dessers for the opening goal as well for Sima, I thought as well there was one where he cut inside, obviously, and then Dessers obviously then tried to go down for a penalty, but it was obviously offside. I think it's just these wee passes. He's very good. I know everybody's saying that we need to get Hadji back, but I honestly think we should be trying to develop McLaughlin and sell Hadji, get the money for Hadji. But no, I thought McLaughlin's performance really good. I thought as well that Cantwell at one point in the middle of the park had lost the ball, and you could hear the moans and the groans from the crowd because he was moaning at the referee, he was flinging his arms up in the air. See with Ross McLaughlin, even if he loses the ball, he's right back up on his feet and he's trying his hardest to win that ball back. Sometimes it'll come off, sometimes it won't. But all you as Rangers fans want to see is effort and endeavour on that park. And no doubt Ross McLaughlin's definitely showing that. He's definitely one of our own.
The second goal, obviously, Cantwell plays a terrific pass, but Scott, the one thing that really catches my eye, and it's something that I've noticed yesterday, Dessers, Danilo, Ruth. I think Ruth's a bit of an anomaly now, but Sima through and goal was probably, do you know what I mean? I've a lot of confidence that he's going to finish, and I don't have that about the rest of them.
No, I know. The manager said something interesting in his press conference yesterday after the match, that he's encouraging Sima to be a wee bit more greedy to get them numbers in his game. Wants him to be a wee bit more selfish and ruthless in front of a goal. Bring it on, as far as I'm concerned. I would be more than happy seeing Sima getting a run through the middle and maybe bringing Matondo on the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Just not something I thought I would have said last season about Robbie Matondo, but the Robbie Matondo redemption arc's kind of been something that I think he's got back in the good side of all his support this season. He's producing the goods. So there's options there. But I think over the next few games, you're going to see Sima get a bit of a rest, a bit of a breather. Maybe not against Hearts, maybe against Dundee at home, because I think the boys do it. Obviously, I think his missus must have had his baby going to his celebration yesterday. Yeah. Managers touched upon it, press conferences as well. These guys are going to be tired. So I give him a run through the middle as far as I'm concerned, but he's definitely due. He's definitely due a bit of time on the bench for me.
So the subs were interesting as well. Obviously, Danilo replaced Dessers, which is normal. Lammers comes on late on for Cantwell, and I said it last weekend. Lammers has a perfect chance to win that game last week at 1-1. I mean, free header, doesn't take it. He has another chance yesterday. I mean, there's all the time in the world to finish it, and doesn't take it. And those are the moments, like Lammers and Butland are the only two players to have played every minute. Not every minute, every game, sorry. And that is an eye-opener to me, because it's all about the chances you get and the chances you take. And he gets a chance yesterday. How big would that goal have been for him? Yes, even yesterday, just to get that. There's so many people on his back, and I don't think it's unfair. But you've got to take the chances, and that's just another sign to me that this boy's just know at the races.
Well, that's him handing out 2 opportunities, hasn't he? We could have been the match winner midweek. And then obviously, sorry, not midweek, it was last weekend against Aberdeen when he had that header. Then he had his opportunity yesterday. But I think, to be honest with you, I think this is a problem all over the park. I think we're not clinical enough in front of goal. I think yesterday as well, we had 8 corners. So that's 8 set pieces. We're not doing well enough with these set pieces. We were always renowned for being really, really good from set pieces. So this is something that Clement has to work on. Now, whether he's obviously looking at the last previous games and the goals that we've conceded, which have been really, really, really poor, to be fair, that the goals that we conceded, whether he's just trying to work from the back and work his way forward, obviously through midfield and obviously attack. I think the midfield is not helping Clement in any sort of way or form. I think that's now the 6th or 7th different formation he's had in midfield as well. So he's only been in for about 8 or 9 games. So I think once he gets that consistency, I think like Scott said, I think he's now got options. We now have got options out wide. I think even like if McLaughlin's going to get dropped midweek, you can see either Matondo or Sima playing in that position, to be honest with you. So I think the good thing is we're now getting players back fit, and we're now obviously looking at obviously getting the wingers in, which was obviously something that we kind of lacked. But I think for me, the biggest thing in January has got to be like this midfield. I've been saying to people, we can't be going into the summer looking for 2 midfielders that are going to cost us the best part of maybe between £5 and £10 million. I think what we've got to do is we've got to sign Lundstram up on a new deal. I know it's not ideal. I'm not saying he's going to be the number 1 starter, but I do think the likes of Jack's going to go, and obviously we've got the bad news about obviously Raskin's probably going to be out for at least another couple of months. So and Cifuentes for me is a box-to-box midfielder, not a holding midfielder. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for Clement over the next couple of weeks. I think we've got a lot of games coming up. How are we going to change that midfield? Because there's nothing at all in there. You've only got Lawrence, Cifuentes and John Lundstram, and I think Cifuentes and Lawrence need to be managed very, very well, because we cannot afford they two, especially Lawrence, to be out injured.
Scott, I thought Lawrence did fine yesterday, and I think Shona's right. I've watched Cifuentes in the MLS, and he's not a sitting midfielder, and I just don't. I think he's the sort of player that needs that kind of creative element in his game. But I think Wednesday's important. Look, Raskin, we'll touch on Raskin here as well. Obviously, Philippe Clement came out with the news that Raskin's rehab's not going as well as expected. Ryan Jack, we know he's fit for 4 games, goes with Scotland, then gets injured. That's that repeat constantly now. So we know that this problem is going to keep going. But I think Shona's right. It's important that if Lawrence is going, I think Lawrence has to play on Wednesday. I think that has to be the way forward, because I don't think Cifuentes can get thrown into that game again, because I think it's such a big game. I think Hearts are on a good run, and Rangers, they need to win it. It doesn't matter by hook or by crook, they've got to win that game on Wednesday. So it's important that, as Shona says, that Lawrence and Cifuentes get managed right. Now, I was quite intrigued that Cifuentes didn't get 10-15 minutes yesterday, and a bit of a, do you know what I mean, and a kind of like for like with Lawrence, and I get a bit of a kind of forward role, because I don't think we've seen what Jose Cifuentes can do. Now, I'm not saying he's put up any trees, but he has to be given a chance to show what he can do, because I don't think you need to play 2 sitters even against Hearts. I think you can have that ability to have a player who can be that kind of the box to box kind of side, because Raskin can do that as well. Not as kind of diversely going forward, but he's got a good defensive element to his game. But do you know what I mean? Hearts are going to have a go. Hearts are going to get anything to lose. I wouldn't be overly, if it's Lawrence or Cifuentes, Lawrence will start. But Cifuentes is a player I wouldn't mind coming on for half an hour on Wednesday.
No, not at all. I thought Cifuentes impressed me a bit in the second half against Aberdeen last Sunday. Thought he gets fit in the ball a wee bit more. Won his duels a wee bit more, and I think if it does that on a kind of consistent basis, then you're going to see a better future for him. I think his performance against Aris Limassol on Thursday night was a bit, that way you can tell when somebody's not played that often. He was trying these kind of passes that he used to do in the MLS, like switching the play, playing the ball on the deck, like out to the right, out to the left. They just weren't coming off from him. I think that's just down to match fitness. We need to remember with these guys that if they're not getting a run of games, then it is going to affect their confidence, their fitness levels, their match sharpness. All that kind of comes into it. For me, but I think with the way Clement's playing, and he's not pressing, he's not putting the fullbacks as high as what they've been under previous management. I think he can afford to have Tom Lawrence, and I think Tom Lawrence in that position is something we need to persist with. Mm-hmm. If Campbell's going to get in the 10, I think if they two can get their heads together and sort of fix it when Cantwell dropping off, Lawrence can go forward a wee bit, and we can kind of see a bit of a mixture, and the two of them are good football players. You should be able to see some good combinations between the pair of them. If you can get Tom Lawrence fit and get him ticking in that role, then I don't see why we should, because we only ever played 2 sixes because we played with high fullbacks, and we're not really playing with high fullbacks anymore. So I don't see the need to have, as long as your 6 is a good player. Lundstram divides opinion, yes, but he's improved. He's probably the most improved player under Philippe Clement for me. So if you can have him sitting as your 6 and he's good with the ball and he's good in the tackle and he's got his head screwed on the right way, then I've got no reason why. I don't see any reason why Lawrence cannot play that 8, getting box to box, mixing it up a wee bit, like combination play with forwards with Carroll running beyond the defenders. I mean, there's a recipe for success here if you're playing with 2, and if you still get McCausland and Sima on either flank. I mean, it makes you feel a wee bit better being a Rangers fan when you're seeing good football players on the park. And Clement might have just find a way to get all his best players on the park. But I'm not at the point where I'm at a certain point with Sam Lammers and Cyril Dessers. I don't really like getting into too much, but I don't think they've got a future at Rangers. Whereas Jose Cifuentes, I mean, he's made about 5-6 appearances. I think there needs to be either a stop-start to his Rangers career. I think there needs to be some element of patience with the guy. He needs any football player, any human being needs a run of games at work, or they need you know yourself, if you're getting into work, you need like a few good performances to kind of get into your stride and stuff. If there's mitigating circumstances run about, i.e. an injury on international duty, then you're not going to see the best of Jose Cifuentes. There is a player in there. But for me, I would be persistent with Tom Lawrence while he's fit and getting him fit and keeping him match sharp and keeping him and Cantwell in the team.
I think it's intriguing that you mention about match sharpness and fitness and intensity, because we had a bit of news during the week about a couple of appointments to the football board which I think have been long overdue. It's that Rangers have appointed Niels Koppen as Director of Football Recruitment. He will be tasked with ensuring the club have a thriving player trading model, leading the recently revamped scouting setup. Shona, I have been of the opinion that Rangers' player trading model, there's glimpses that it can work, but it has not been used to best ability. For the classic example, Rangers hang on to players far too long. They don't sell at the right time. Recruitment in the summer is an absolute shambles, and there's no getting away from that. And it's something I want to bring up when we talk about the AGM. And I think this appointment, I think it's very important that Niels Koppen has been appointed Director of Football Recruitment, because if you want to say what is the problem at Rangers now, I think a lot of people will say the big problem is recruitment.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at his CV, I think the likes of the players that he's brought in, Cody Gakpo, I think Noah Lang is another one, do you know what I mean, that he's scouted in the past. These guys have gone for massive transfer fees. I think Joey Veerman could be another one, and also Malik Tillman. So, yeah, his CV's looking not so bad. I actually think it might be a wee bit of a coup that we've managed to get, and the fact that he's obviously worked with Clement before is massive as well. And I think the other guy that's been brought in, he's obviously a lot to do with stats base and fitness base. So yeah, it's good to see like an overall. But I think, yeah, like you said, I think the recruitment has been pretty poor in the summer. But I think overall, guys, if our player trading model wants to work, we have to be successful on and off the pitch. And that is obviously winning trophies and obviously doing well in Europe. I think last year we can put it down as a write-off in the Champions League. I think you'll find exactly the same will happen across the other side of the city. I don't think the way they performed, I think the only player that maybe a couple of people might be looking at is Matt O'Reilly. Apart from that, that's probably the only player that they've got in their team that's probably worth any value. So I think where the kind of both teams are kind of sitting in the same place. I think this is why we need to be in the Europa League, guys. I know obviously everyone's saying about the Champions League money, but like we know that if you do well in the Europa League, we've got the likes of Calvin Bassey, we've got the likes of Joe Aribo, Glenn Kamara, these sort of guys are obviously going to get you big money, but we cannot have guys that keep running down their contracts. This has been this is just the same thing happens year in, year out. We have players that run down their contracts, end up leaving on a free, and we miss out on big money on these guys. We cannot afford to do that, and that's why I know that John Lundstrom's probably not going to go for a higher fee. But this is why I've been saying that we need to get him on a new contract, because John Lundstrom is a decent backup. If you're going to bring in a new midfielder, fair enough, but I do think John Lundstrom's a really, really good backup for us. I do think we should be trying to sign the likes of Sima in the summer. I think he's only 22. I think he's obviously got a higher transfer value. This is the kind of guy that if you know that if you're going to be doing well in Europe, he's already scored 11 goals. He can play right across the front three. He's really good defensively as well. See, when we're obviously defending corners, he's obviously the one that's the one at the front post. So like, there's a lot of attributes just to like the likes of Sima, but you're definitely right. I think we have to get this director of football recruitment right this time, and hopefully this is the guy that can maybe pick us up a few decent players. I know everybody wants Lawrence Shankland. I'm sure we'll probably come on to it, but that does not fit our player trading model. It really doesn't, guys. I know obviously everyone wants him because he'll score goals in our league, but I think you've got to be looking at players like Miovski and maybe further down the like maybe likes of Connor Barron, the guy Bacchus from maybe likes of St Mirren. These are the kind of guys that you want to be picking up on a free that can maybe possibly get a bigger transfer fee for.
Scott,
can I cut in quickly?
Of course you can.
All right. So say the worst happens. Sean, I'm not going to go on about Lawrence Shankland, right? Because there's an endless debate with me and you. So, see with the Europa League, right? Say we finish third, we drop into the Conference League. Do you guys think that could potentially turn out to be a good thing for Rangers? Can you see us going far in it? As in, i.e., another run to a final?
Brighton are there, so yeah.
Yes, but I think the problem I've been very vocal about is, can you do both? Can you go on a big run in Europe? And because domestically, I mean, Rangers need to be better domestically. Without doubt. I think Shona's saying about Europa League, and I agree with her, but also win the league, you're straight in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean?
It's win the Europa League.
Yeah. So there's the option there. I think that's a problem with both Glasgow clubs, is that they are. You can't do both. You can't be dominant domestically and do it in Europe. You can if you invest, and Rangers have tried to invest this summer. It's been an absolute shambles. Stuff, but no, I think if Rangers finish third, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, I don't. But again, I'm someone who believes Rangers are the best team in Scotland at playing in Europe. Celtic aren't good in Europe. We know that. We see that. But Rangers have the kind of tactical ability to change it in Europe. But I think if you were to say to me this season, you can win the league or you can get to the final of the Conference League, no debate for me. Now, it might have been a different debate 2 years ago. This season, it's not, because Celtic. I don't think this Celtic team's good. I don't think this Celtic team's a good Celtic side. We've seen them in the past. This season, they aren't. They are. You know what I mean? I think we're a bit of a challenge. It could be a completely different story, but Rangers haven't put any pressure on them, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I was just wondering, the only team I can really see challenging for the Conference League this year is Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa are going to go and run away with it. But I just thought I would ask a question because it kind of intrigued me when I was thinking about it the other night. We've got that option of drop. We've at least got Conference League football, and I thought, well, if we get into that, it's not the worst, because I would be expecting us to at least reach the last four, last four, bare minimum.
Yeah,
because of the level of teams it's in.
I think, but you can also, I think you can go to bets and win and finish first in the Europa League. I think it's that kind of thing. So no, it's an interesting debate. Also, something I think is very intriguing, Scott, was the appointment of a new head of performance, Tom Taylor, who'll be arriving from Brighton. He will start on the 22nd of December. Now, I have been very, very vocal, and I know every Rangers fan thinks it as well. Rangers' injuries in the past 2 years have been, again, nothing short of ridiculous, to be honest, to the point where Philip Clement, one of the first things he comes in and says is that we've got all this technology in the Auchenhowie that doesn't get used. Ross McCausland, he didn't use this as an example, but he said everybody's in the same training regime. You can't have Ross McCausland in the same training regime as Leon Balogun. You just can't. They're different body types, they're different ages, they're different injury records. But there just seems to be a real lack of using the data, using the technology that we have now in terms of fitness and sports science. And I think Tom Taylor, vibes seem to be good at Brighton from what I've heard about him. I think this is potentially just as big an appointment as a director of football recruitment, because Rangers need to be better and more modern in terms of moving with the times, in terms of technology and fitness, because I don't want to ever see John Lundstrom and James Sands playing at centre-back again.
100%. I think getting anybody in from Brighton in that type of capacity is a massive, massive win for Rangers. If you look at Brighton in terms of what they're doing, they've sold 3 players in the summer there. Moise Caicedo for one, bringing in massive, massive transfer fees.
McAllister.
Alexis McAllister as well. Obviously, he'd a minimum fee release clause, but I think bringing in a guy like that from Brighton is such a forward-thinking move for the club. I think he was at Hearts before he went to Brighton. I might be wrong on that.
Right, yeah.
I think he was at Hearts, so he knows Scottish football as well. Not that he needs to in terms of what he's going to be doing, but I think it's come on, and the Rangers board are finally moving us into the kind of modern era now. So, we're in 2023 and we've not really been using these guys since Steven Gerrard was in, but he took his team and ran when he went to Villa. There was nobody left and they weren't really reappointed after that. So I am all for it, and the fact that the guy will have some connections down south as well isn't going to be a bad thing. I mean, like I say, if Brighton are the kind of go-to club just now down south for any kind of Ecuadorian players or these kind of different markets that they seem to dip into and find all these gems. But in terms of player performance and fitness and if their intensity of football that they play as well due to their style of football, they need to be fit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this guy's going to be able to do. I'm not saying he's going to come in and fix everything, no, but I think he's going to revamp the department and bring it forward because it's what's needed. I think we're going to see a kind of similar impact to what James Bisgrove had when he came in as marketing officer, and he brought in Rangers several £1 million in his first year of being appointed, building Edmondson House, etc. There's obviously other plans for the match day experience around about the ground. So I really do see this appointment on that level. I think he's going to make massive improvements in a short time because it's not going to be hard to.
Shona, could the appointment of somebody from Brighton maybe get a Sima deal done and dusted?
That's exactly what I was going with next. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, and he also worked with Connor Golson, didn't he, as well? That was another one when he managed to get a bit of a fee for Connor Golson. So, no, this Guy Taylor, he really suits the way that we're trying to go. So basically what we're trying to do is I've got less scouts, but we're using stats-based system to attract players, and it's exactly the way what Brighton's model's been over the past few years. So if we're going to follow that model, what's best but having somebody that's already been there, done it, and has bought the t-shirt. And I think this guy is obviously the ideal. Obviously, it's came out of nowhere that this guy was going to come in. I think he was the same with Niles Coppin as well. I think nobody really expected him. But if you can get the two of them, I think Niles Coppin with his experience within the European kind of side of football, and then you've obviously got the likes of Taylor, who's probably a bit more further afield, kind of more South American, that kind of side of thing. I think we're going to be able to attract quite a few players in. So, like, as long as the model works, this is the point is hopefully the model works, because as I said, it's all down to stats based. As far as I'm aware, what they'll do is they'll look at a player, say they're looking at maybe like a striker, and they'll look at what's your budget. And then they'll whittle it down to maybe 100 of them. And then what they'll do is they then whittle it down. What can you afford? What's the kind of attributes that you want? By that time, then you're whittling it down to maybe about 10 or 15 players. And that allows your scouts to go out and look at these players. And then obviously then you find out which one's going to be more ideal for Scottish football. So no, I'm actually really, really excited. I think these two appointments, I think there's probably going to be a wee bit more. I think you see that now with big football clubs down south. You've got about 20 people within the backroom staff, do you know what I mean? From the top, I know somebody that's even in charge of like loan deals, do you know what I mean? Things like that. So I do think that this is the way we'll be going. I don't think he'll be the last one in the door. I think this is just the start of it, but it's a great start. And obviously I don't think he starts until the start of January, isn't it? He's still be right until
22nd of December he starts, and Coppin starts on the 2nd of January, yeah.
Is that the one, right? Okay. So yeah, so I think they've got a big job in their hands at the moment, obviously dealing with their own clubs, but they'll have to look at obviously transfers for ourselves. Obviously, I would imagine Clement and Coppin would probably have a bit more of a better relationship in that sort of sense. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, I think this Taylor guy, guys, it looks like a possibility we might be able to get Sima. I do think that we need to try and get him in January. If we leave it to the summer, I think his transfer value is going to tenfold. So I think it would be best to try and get him in January. What would you guys pay up towards for him? I would pay at least 78 million for him, because I do think you'll get your money back on him.
Yeah, I think it will be about that. I think as well. I think Brighton paid about that. Is it going to feature in Brighton's plans? I'm not sure. So will they potentially look at and go right?
From what I've read, about Sima when he signed was this is part of his player development programme that Brighton have put in place. So I do think there is a future for him at Brighton, and unfortunately I don't think we've got the funds to to generate, because you can't sell Dessers and Lammers and buy a guy that's already at the club to replace them two. So I don't think it's a realistic deal we should be looking at. If we've got the funds, by all means, go and spend it. He's got all the ability in the world, and he's going to get you a sell on in terms of when he's sold. He's going to bring in a big fee, but I just think he's just out with our remits just now.
We're recording this on Monday night and the show is planned to go out on Tuesday night, so we will be between the AGM on Tuesday, but I just want to touch on it for a second because I want to ask both your guys' thoughts. Scott, I think the board will be in for, I don't think they'll be in for a torrid time, but I certainly don't think it'll be easy. But I think it's very important, and we saw with an AGM last week in the other side of the city, that instead of pandering to nonsense, it is important that the Rangers shareholders touch on what needs to be touched on, as we say, player trading, recruitment, the importance of fitness. What's the plans for the next couple of years domestically? It needs to be, this is a perfect opportunity to quiz the board because you only get this once a year. So I think this has to be a big, big moment.
Aye, definitely. Just because this year's isn't going to be as hostile as last year's AGM. I felt as if last year's there was a bit of an atmosphere bubbling under the surface. I don't think it's going to be as bad this year. But it doesn't paper over the cracks either, just because Clement's come in and he's got a bit of an unbeaten record. There's still massive issues there at our club in terms of finances, player recruitment, injuries, fitness. All that stuff needs to get asked him, and the support need to ask it in the correct manner as well. You can't just blot stuff out for the sake of blotting stuff out and asking daft questions like we witnessed over the other side of the city. We've seen it after rain support at the AGM last season. Yeah. There was the odd supporter that just doesn't use his language properly. So we need to ask it in the right manner, but it needs to be constructive. It needs to be done in the right sense. But the board need to just come out and be honest with us as well, because there's been a lot of, not cover-ups, but no lies either. That's not the word I'm looking for, but not the whole truth coming out. These things in recent years under like Ross Wilson and Stuart Robertson. So we've got different people in now. So let's just see what it brings, and then we can kind of run over it, because there's definitely stuff that needs answered. I mean, Clement's come in and he's still trying to piece together 11 players to put in a park and make a winning team because of the shambles he's inherited. So why was he allowed to inherit that shambles in the first place? Why did that happen? So this stuff that needs to be asked. Why did Michael Beale get full control of transfers in the summer? But that doesn't happen anywhere now. It did when I was growing up, but it certainly doesn't happen in modern football now. So why was that allowed to happen? Why did you put all that trust and all that money in one man's hands? Because it's come back to bite us. Sean,
I think the big thing with tomorrow at the AGM is that I think a lot of things will be focused on the business side of it, which is doing well. It's in a better position than it was even last year. But in order to run a good business, particularly of a football team, you need your on-field side to be running smoothly. It hasn't. There's 2 managers that are on that account that have been sacked. There's been, Scott mentions, a manager who I think has overseen probably the worst recruitment I can remember since Pedro, easily. So those questions do need to be asked. I don't want to hear about rubber ducks in the shop. I don't want to hear about who's the next band to play at Edmiston House. I want to hear about what is being done to get Rangers closer domestically, because that is the bread and butter.
Well, it's obviously got to work on the pitch, and obviously that success only comes when you're winning trophies. Off the pitch, what I would say is I think the structure is a bit better. Obviously now we've got our director of football in, we're bringing in more technical guys. We've obviously got a manager there that looks like he's the real deal so far, still unbeaten. We've now got guys that are probably Rangers men. I think these guys are probably running the scenes behind the scene, like the likes of Bisgrove, very much business people. They're not footballing guys, do you know, that way. So I think the fact is that we've got that looks like Souness, and I think obviously I spoke today to Bomber Brown,
right?
And Bomber says that he's now an ambassador within the Rangers. So having these people, I think, with a strong Rangers head, a strong Rangers mind, it filters its way down. What they need to do now is they need to look at the short and the long-term target, the long-term ambitions for the club, and they need to stick with them. So if they are going to say something at the AGM that's going to be short-term, obviously that will be to do with like player recruitment, why we've obviously lost a lot of money, what we're going to do to gain that money back. And then I think the long-term project will be looking at the disabled facilities and how we can expand the stadium. And is that realistic? Because I think a lot of people out there are asking the same old question. This is going to cost a lot of money. So where's that money going to come from? But yeah, I think so far so good. I think the structure from last year to obviously the AGM, I think maybe that's why they obviously had to announce these guys before that. But yeah, I think the structure is probably a lot better than what it was this time last year. You can see it filtering down. It's now a time now. We have to get that recruitment right. And then what we have to do is develop the youth system, because that's where your player trading model really works well. And then obviously success on the pitch.
Final words before we wrap up. We've got a game on Wednesday night. Rangers travel to Tynecastle. Always a tough place to go. Quick predictions for the guys before we wrap up. Scott, what's your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a nail-biting 2-1 victory. I don't think it's going to be plain sailing whatsoever. But I think we're going to come down the road with the 3 points, thankfully.
Shona, do you go along with that?
I'll go for a 2-0. I don't think we can concede a goal, because I think Connor Golson and Balogun will have Lawrence Shankland in their back pocket for the whole game. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0.
Brilliant. I think it will be. I'm going to go. I think 3-1. I think we might see a good performance tomorrow, Wednesday night. And we're going to wrap up the show there, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to be both on. First of all, Scott McKay, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me again, Scott.
Always a pleasure. And thank you very much. Our first appearance, been a pleasure. Shona McLean, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Brilliant. Thanks very much everyone tuned in. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. And for bonus Scottish football content, check out our Patreon channel. Thanks, folks.